Hello. Welcome to Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. We're at the ACC Community Room, and I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour. We just started a little earlier than usual, just a couple minutes to talk about some announcements. We have a secret, the Secrets of the Library, coming up tomorrow. I'm excited about the beginning ukulele workshop that's also being offered soon. So lots of good things. Hope you can check out the website and join us for some of these wonderful opportunities. Anyhow, for today's class, welcome to Gentle Yoga. We're focusing on strengthening in the abs area. So we'll go through our warm-ups, our modified sun salutation as usual, and our balance. And the cool down class will be focused more in the abs and strengthening some of the core for your class design today. So that being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And we will go ahead and just as you arrive, give yourself that chance to just connect. It's a little loud. Let me lower that just a little bit. Whatever brought you to class will still be there when you leave. We can focus in on the mat and how you're arriving today. So notice how it feels, the mat under the feet, your body as it just begins your practice in mountain. We can begin to develop our connection to the breath with a little more intention. Let's go ahead and bring our left palm on our chest, right palm underneath the belly button. As you move through the next few breath cycles, just notice how the energy translates into the body. You may feel on the inhale, the rib cage expanding, the hand at the chest perhaps lifting. A brief pause before you start the exhale with a little more control. Start firming the core, drawing the belly button to the spine. Help expel all that air. That brief pause before you begin the next breath cycle. And as our breath cycle lengthens, you can finish cultivating the breath with the sound of the ocean at the back of the throat. We'll go ahead and bring our hands down to the sides. And a little more relaxed. Go ahead and lift the feet, toes, then the heels. And we'll bring breath and movement with the next portion. Let's go ahead and inhale. In our mountain, feel the energy drawing through the legs, lengthening up the spine, through the crown of the head. On the exhale, feel that energy reverse course, returning down the body. And at the bottom of the exhale, feeling that firm core and root, a good rooting at the feet, stabilizing the body. Let's go ahead and inhale, start to roll the center of gravity towards the toes till you find that tipping point, stopping. Then using the next breath to slowly roll the center of gravity at the feet towards the heels. The body is upright for the most part, and we're just exploring the heel to toe mapping at the foundation of our feet. We'll go ahead and meet back at center, somewhere at the instep, closer to the heels. Resetting. Let's get taller in our mountain. Inhaling, and then exhaling, rolling the weight to the outer right edge of our feet. Again, the body is upright. We lift upwards with the inhale. Go ahead and inhale all the way to the other side. Then we can exhale back to the other side for a 2-part breath. Just getting that horizontal mapping as we roll the center of gravity at our feet from side to side. And then we'll meet back at center. Resetting the mountain one more time. We'll keep doing that actually, just getting a little longer, a little taller at every return to home base. And now let's inhale, lifting, energizing upwards as we slowly make circles around, starting from the ankle towards the outer edges of the feet. So we're getting an idea of the perimeter, the edge, and then we'll tighten in the circles, returning home. Back at mountain, let's reset once more, energizing upwards and moving in the opposite direction. Small circles radiating to larger, identifying that same track, but in the opposite direction. And once again, once that's identified, we'll tighten in the circles and meet in mountain. Okay, and one more time, resetting. We'll move on up the body. We'll do some ankle rolls with hips and torso swivels at the same time. So let's start off with the feet sort of planted about hips distance apart. We're just going to start with a gentle swaying of the shoulders from side to side. And as that circle, as that sway from side to side gets bigger, we're going to have to lift up the ball of the foot and pivot on the heel. And so what we're going to do is hopefully get a little bit of movement in the ankles, not so much in the knees, a little in the hips. And as we get that momentum building, the arms can swing out on their own, relaxed and gently tapping the sides of the body as we make those swivels from side to side. And then we'll return back to mountain, let the momentum peter out, and reset once more. Moving on up the body towards the shoulders, and at this point we're trying to get this lengthier mountain going, so hopefully the ankles are under the knees, which are under the hips, and if you gently press the hips forward, hopefully that'll lift up the chest, bring the shoulders, rolling them back and down, so that you have everything hopefully stacked underneath the ear, shoulder, hips, knees, and ankles. Palms facing forward. Let's inhale, start to lift the shoulders towards the ears, and then exhale, roll them back. Let them melt down. Let the triangles of the shoulder blades melt down the back. On the inhales, we're rolling them up. On the exhales, we're rolling them back and down. And a total of 4 of these. Using that ocean breath to help facilitate the release. And then we'll repeat another round, this time exhaling forward. With this next round, we have inhales for the shoulders to lift up, exhales to roll forward and down, tucking into the mid-back. Then you can always make any transitional movement as we move from pose to pose. We're going up to the neck now. And as we get taller, imagine that string at the crown of the head, lifting everything, energizing everything upwards, a gentle tuck of the chin, and inhaling tall, lifting, if you can, imagine at the crown of the head. So all you have to do is just dip the right ear towards the right shoulder. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to turn the gaze. Keeping the left shoulder in line with the right. If it lifted up with that turning of the gaze, go ahead and exhale. Let the left shoulder release back in line with the right. A total of 4 breath cycles here as well. Notice if there's any other shifting of balance between the joints of the hips, the knees, the ankles, the soles of the feet. Try to keep everything balanced, equally distributing the weight, so that on your very last exhale, your eyes might be at the rightmost of your periphery. And then we can inhale the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up at the top of the inhale. Exhale, left ear towards the left shoulder, right shoulder stays in line with the left. And a deep breath here, turning the gaze, and just letting the next few breath cycles help release on the right side of the neck, and the eyes, and the tops of the shoulders, palms facing forward to help keep the shoulders open and space between the ears and the shoulders. Let's go ahead and inhale the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up. And with the exhale, just let the gaze float down towards the top of the mat. Resting the eyes there. We're still inhaling length, feeling a slight tilt at the crown of the head. And a great release, hopefully, still rooted all the way from the shoulders down to the heels, feeling the release in the neck. After your very last breath cycle, go ahead and inhale the eyes towards the midline, past the midline, and then somewhat above you. You can see there, stop craning the neck, and use the next 4 breath cycles to release in the mouth, the tongue, the throat, maybe even a gentle soft gaze of the eyes. And the deep ocean breaths. After your very last inhale and exhale, let's go ahead and bring the eyes back to center and shake out any residual activation of muscles, grips, holds of your joints. It's just good to kind of reset after each purposeful activation. So let's go ahead and we'll start with our sun salutation walking meditation. So just bringing the arms down, or not, but feeling as if you've got that intention to reach downward. We're energizing the fingers downward. Inhale, extend the arms while we're still energized. At the top, we're going to lift up with the torso. Exhale, let's fold, hinging at the hips. And you can walk the hands down or just float on down. Give yourself the time to unfold. The back, if it's really tight, it just might take 3 to 5 breath cycles to try to give it the space, the time to release, for the body to feel safe, to let go. So our first fold, our ragdoll of a forward fold, is going to be about 5 deep breath cycles. That's a good time for you to walk one knee, bending the other, maybe gently shifting the hips, small movements as we're still warming up here. You can see about lengthening through the legs, but keep the bend to the knees if you need. You want to keep everything from the hips down to the heels, a nice solid support. But if you can feel the tailbone start to release down the spine, down the neck, all the way through to the crown of the head. And along with the arms, just providing that weight, that plumb weight needed to hopefully allow a natural traction of the spine and the neck with the help of gravity. If you're holding on to your head, you can bobble the head to the left and right, forward and back, and just let it sort of dangle.
As we come out of our first pretty long fold here, we want to firm up our core. So we're pressing into our feet to initiate that. We're firming up the thighs. We're engaging the core, sticking the belly button to the spine. And as we inhale, we just slowly start to walk the hands if we need, but we're unfurling the spine all the way back up to mountain. Shoulders rotate back and down, palms face forward, and just give yourself a breath or two. Let the blood rush back to the head. And then we're going to fold one more time, a little shorter. So we're reaching downwards, we're inhaling to extend the arms above our head, and then exhale, hinge at the hips, float or walk the hands down to a 3-breath cycle fold this time, a little shorter. You can lift the toes, lift the heels. Again, you can gently bounce on deeply bended knees and then see how much you can lengthen after that. You can let the head bobble until you feel that release from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And then with the next inhale, you have a choice of slow roll up, once more engaging the core, or extending the arms, still engaging the core. Inhaling all the way back up with the strength of the inhale, an engaged core, or rolling back up on your own time. Hands down, heart center. We'll begin our walking meditation. Inhale, lift the right foot. Exhale the heel, ball of foot, and toes down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale the heel, ball of foot, and toes down. And as we're making our way to the top of the mat, and if this has been a part of your practice, our body is just automatically taking those little steps to the top of the mat. And at the top, we'll meet in mountain, looking down at the fingertips, press into the palms, extend the hands above the head, separate the palms, and hinge at the hips to fold on the exhale. Inhale, half lift. We're going to lengthen through the legs as is comfortable. Keep the bend if you need. Find that length from the tailbone to the crown of the head at a 90-degree angle, or maybe 45, but just try to lengthen through the back. Then exhale. Place the palms at the side of the feet on the mat. Step a right foot back, step a left foot back, and come on into a high plank by bringing the shoulders over the wrists, and then we're going to modify by bringing our shins down. Pressing into our palms. Let's make sure our shoulders are not past our wrist position, but we're just here for about 3 breath cycles, bringing the belly button to the spine, engaging the core. Just firming up the belly, feeling the shins, the tops of the feet supporting our part of the body, but the majority really there by the strength of our shoulders and extended arms. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes with the next inhale, lift up the hips, exhale, push the hips back, extend through the arms, and see where your heels land. They might be lifted still. They might be on the mat. The first down dog is pretty lengthy as well, just like our rag doll. So give yourself 5 good breath cycles. Feel out the dog. You can walk the dog, bend one knee alternately, then the other. You can imagine the energy lines, the one going from the ground to the hips, on beyond that upward energy at the hips, at the apex of your upside down V, and the downward energy from the tailbone, down the back, down the arms, to the heels of the palms, all the way through to the fingertips, as well as from the tailbone, down the legs, all the way down the heels. One last exhale. Let's go ahead and inhale. Keep the bend to your knees if you need. Roll the eyes towards the hands. And exhale, engage the core, and walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold at the back of the mat. Inhale, half lift, lengthen through the back, look down at the mat. Exhale, just release through the upper body. Maybe it's just bending your elbows. Bring the chest towards the thighs and the fold. And then inhale, engage the core. Slow roll up or come on up with the straight back. Exhaling hands down heart center. One more walking meditation. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale, right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale it down. And we'll make our way to the top. Looking down, watch the fingertips rise. Exhale, separate the palms and hinge. Fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands. Step a right leg back and left leg back. Inhale, long, strong, high plank this time. Keeping the legs nice and long. Feel that length from the heels all the way through the crown of the head. Looking down, sticking the belly button to the spine, firming up the core, making sure the points of your elbows point back, cricks of the elbows towards the front, and then we'll inhale, lift the hips, exhale, press towards the down dog, your second one of the practice. See where the heels land, inhaling, really coming up on the tiptoes, feeling the energy at the hips while you press into those long arms, lower the heels, see if you find a little more length. One last breath cycle. Roll the eyes towards the hands, bend the knees if you need, and walk the hands to the fold at the back of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core, come on up, return to mountain. Exhaling hands down, heart center. And finally down to the sides. Great time for a little bit of water if you need. We'll be moving into our balance pose next. It's our Warrior One. I don't believe I've done that this year. I may not have done that in this, it's been maybe about a year since we've done that in this gentle yoga class. It's a really good pose for stretching out the backs of the legs, but we're also going to pull into it some strengthening in the abs and lengthening as well. So one thing I recommend doing is getting some blocks. If you have difficulty reaching the floor in your forward fold, having the blocks is really handy. I'm going to be showing you from the side position as well as from the front, so you get an idea of how to align the body and how to use these blocks. We'll just keep them at the side for right now. In the first set, we'll be in our mountain position. Feet are about hips distance apart. And all we're going to do, we're going to lead with our, the camera's this way, so we'll lead with the left leg stepping back. And what we want is to keep the hip orientation in mind. As we stand in mountain, your hips are underneath the shoulders, hopefully, the chin gently tucked. And all we're going to do is just step the left foot back a little bit, maybe half a foot. Enough to be on the ball of that back foot, maybe about half a foot behind the front right foot. Now, the hip orientation, did you notice if it slid back? Did it pivot off to the side? We want to keep both hips facing forward, where it's just the movement of the left foot stepping back. If your hips are really tight, it may not step back that much. That's something to be aware of. If you're pretty flexible in your hips, you might be, again, at the most about 1.5 feet back. So from here, once more at mountain, we'll step our left leg back once more. So inhaling nice and tall in our mountain. Exhale, just step a left foot back. If it's too big and you feel like you need to come back up, go right ahead. But see if you can go from the ball of your left foot, stabilizing, to more of that left sole of the foot, if not the heel, the entire sole of the foot, supporting that left foot. If you can keep both hips facing forward, that's great. That's what we're looking for. In keeping the rest of the body in our mountain, that's something to think about. Are you pitching forward? Is your orientation of the torso or the hips off to the side? We want to face forward, be squared with the top of the mat, hips, torso, feet, heel to toe positioning. And then we can go ahead and bring the left foot back into our mountain position in line with our right foot. You should have felt that nice stretch at this left hip here. And we'll do the same step back, but this time with the right foot, the right leg. So standing nice and tall in our mountain. Inhale, and then exhale, step comfortably. Notice the orientation of the hips, keeping the orientation of the hips facing forward, the body facing forward. You might be on the ball of that right foot. And notice if you can breathe, if you're able to pull down the heel, land the heel. You can have a slight micro bend to the right knee if you need, but we're looking to eventually keep both hips facing forward and legs not locked, but definitely not bending the knees. If you need to micro bend, go ahead, that's okay. We don't want to lock out the knees is what I'm getting at. So we've had a couple of breaths there, and we'll inhale, bring the right foot back to mountain in line with the left. Go ahead and roll on the soles of the feet, forward and back on the heel to toe. Jiggle out the knees if you need. We're going to do this one more time. So in our mountain, nice and tall, inhale, and then exhale, step back. See if you can exhale completely and bring the heel down. If not, keep the heel lifted, but the orientation of the hips facing forward. So once you're able to eventually get the heel down, or at least stabilize where you're not wobbling from side to side, we can bring our arms, palms can be together or they can be separate. We're just lifting them upwards. And you're feeling hopefully rooted at the legs. Don't lock out the knees. You can micro bend them if you need. You're reaching up with your arms. And then let's exhale, let the arms come on down to the side. And inhale, come back to mountain. Go ahead and bounce a little bit. Gently swerve, sway. I'm trying to find the right word for this, but sway from side to side. Swirl. I'll find the right word later. And then we'll go to the other side. Standing nice and tall in mountain. Inhale. Exhale, step back. Find your footing. See if you can land the right heel and still keep the integrity of both hips facing forward. Seeing if you can straighten out this right knee, or if you need to keep that micro bend there. Remember, keep both hips facing forward, not veering to the right or to the left of the mat. You want to keep everything perpendicular to the top of the mat. Once you're there, let's go ahead and inhale, bring the hands up above. If you can bring them palm together, go ahead. We're just lengthening, finding the rooting at the soles of the feet, evenly distributing our weight at the soles of the feet while keeping our hips facing forward and reaching upward with the arms, lengthening, reaching upwards, feeling rooted at the feet at the same time. One more deep inhale, exhale. Let's inhale the right foot back to mountain position in line with the left. And let's go ahead and give ourselves another little bounce and release any residual activated muscles. And those are very subtle, but we're focusing on our balance, on opening up the hips, lengthening through the abdominal muscles, and still energizing those muscles needed to keep our balance, and especially in that very focused way of lifting the arms above the head. So it can be a very demanding pose. So coming on down, we'll move from that. We're going to come on down to the mat to your hands and feet. And I believe, what do we have here? We're looking at a wide-legged
fold. So coming down to our hands and feet, but I'm going to be on the side mat here. Side facing mat. You might need to too, depending on the orientation of your device there. But we're on our hands and feet. We came from tabletop or hands and feet down to our hips. And now we're going into a wide leg stance. So coming into a staff, and you start off your staff with the feet about hips distance apart. And when we go into a wide-legged pose, we're just bringing one leg out. We can lift up the leg, help lift up the leg if you need. Inch it out a little bit. See if you can do the same amount on this other side. Now, if you have tight hips and abduction away from the center line here is difficult for you, it doesn't have to be wide. The average person is about 2 to 3 feet. If you have extra tight hips, you might only be a foot, maybe even just 1.5 feet. So don't worry about that. If you have nice, flexible hips, you might be wider. You might be at 3 to 4 feet. But all we're doing here is just getting some abduction in the hips. And we're minding our knees, making sure that they're not rolling out completely because the abduction is so wide. If that's the case, bring the legs in a little more. We want to keep the orientation of the knees and the toes up towards the ceiling. So you might have to move some of the gluteal flesh, the thigh flesh, and just get to that comfortable spot. Once you're there, if you can comfortably keep the knees and the toes in that orientation towards the ceiling, then just let them relax. We're going to inhale, keep the arms up if you'd like, palms together, separate. We're just trying to lift up. We're going to turn the torso towards our right side. As we do that, the left hand finds the shin, finds the floor, whichever side, so that all we have to do is slide downwards. We're inhaling long, and we're just hinging at the hips to fold until we stop. We may not go far at all. So some of us might be here, pretty high up, but we're getting this nice stretch. Our right hip is glued to the floor. If it lifted up, just exhale, bring it back to balance so that both hips have an equal distribution of weight. We want to pin that right hip as we lengthen through the right side. And then we would be folding. And we're still maintaining that lengthening as we fold over in the side stretch. This left hand helps us to maintain control over how far we fold. Let's go ahead and inhale, bring the torso back up. You can walk this left hand up if you need, and bring the right arm down. Go ahead and bring the torso forward and shoulder shrug, loosen, swirl, just roll it around. That shoulder's been lifted for a while, so you might have some tension there. Go ahead and let it relax. We'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So inhaling nice and tall through from the root all the way through to the crown of the head, lifting upwards. And then we're just turning the entire torso as one unit. So inhaling, we don't want to bring the left arm and then the neck and then the other shoulder. We just want to lift everything up and turn as we exhale until we stop. And then here, we'll do the same thing. We'll bring the arms up. Palms can touch or they can be separate. And then we exhale, hinging at the hips. We're reaching, lengthening. Left hip is glued to the mat, lengthening, and then folding as we're still lengthening until we stop. And again, this right hand at the shin, at the side on the floor to help you control how deeply you fold. So only a couple of breaths here. And then we can inhale back to center. You can walk, help the torso walk back up, and turn as one unit back to center the torso. We'll do this one more time. We're going to inhale, bend the left knee though this time. Allow the left sole, the sole of the left foot to be somewhere on this inner thigh leg area of the right leg. And then allow this left knee to drop down. And what we're looking for is, again, sitting on both sits bones, even distribution of weight. Hopefully you're not rolled to one side. You want to get to that point where you can sit with even distribution of weight on this pelvic bowl and the sits bones. and then see where this left knee lands. You might need this block. You might need to have the sole of the foot oriented further down the leg, but you want to feel you've got that special edge, that special spot after about 3 to 5 breaths. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to bring the arms out above our head, touch the palms if you like, or just stretch all the way up. And then turn to the right, bring the left hand to the floor, and lift up, exhale, hinge. Really feel a little stretch here. All the way from the right hip to the right fingertips. You should be getting a nice external rotation of the left hip as well. You can bend this left elbow to help facilitate a deeper stretch, deeper fold. Inhale all the way back up. Both hands, bring hands down, heart center. And then we can inhale, roll a little towards the right hip to help lift this left knee up, and we can extend through this left leg. Go ahead and bring that back to its original spot, moving any gluteal flesh that you need. Find your even distribution of weight once more. We'll move to the other side. Inhaling, bending this right knee, externally rotating the right hip as we bring this right foot in. Finding that special spot in consideration of this right knee hip opener. And giving ourselves the 3 to 5 breaths. Oh, not as wide on this, open on this side. Usually that's reversed for me. Sometimes as you age, sometimes as you move through your life's activities, you may be surprised. So just something to notice. And as you find that sweet spot, we'll go ahead and inhale, arms up above once more. Both shoulders turning at once, bringing down the right hand to the floor. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold to the side. Find that stretch. Use the bend of your right elbow to help facilitate that stretch. Left hip is glued to the floor. Hopefully finding length on the left side. Even a hip opener to the right side. One more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. And then inhale, let's come all the way back up. Both hands, bring the hands down, heart center. Let's bring in this right hip, right knee, lengthen the right leg. We'll come into that wide legged position once more. And we're going to set the hips on the sits bones, set the weight on the sits bones. Make sure it's even. You're not leaning one side or the other. And we'll move into a seated butterfly. So start to bring the soles of the feet together. And again, knees tight, hips tight. You're going to have more of a diamond shape to your seated butterfly. You might have blocks to help support the knees. And as we're moving into that special spot, giving ourselves 3 to 5 breath cycles, we're hoping for that external rotation on both sides of the hips and a hold of the hands. You can hook the fingers and put them on the shins if that's comfortable. If it's okay for you to reach your elbow, your ankles, your toes, it just depends on how far forward you're able to reach for your anchor point. But we want something where you can keep the length of the torso long. We're not folding forward. We're actually just holding on to the shins, the ankles, the toes, whatever it is that you're able to hold on to, and lengthen through the back. You're just barely actively hanging on with your fingers, but you're mostly just using
those muscles needed just to keep the finger grip without actively activating the arms. And hopefully you'll find a nice stretch. Stretch of the shoulder blades, moving away from the spine, and a stretch of the hips opening. And a lot of this is not you pulling, it's just you allowing the space for this to occur. So breathing, those slower breaths, those will help the parasympathetic nervous system to release hormones, chemicals that help you to just lengthen. And then we'll go ahead and inhale, bring the torso back up, actively bring the abs into engagement so you can hold up the upper body. And we're going to start to slide the legs down as we help the knees come back to center. So the soles of the feet are coming back down, and we may even slide the heels all the way down. Eventually, we're internally rotating the legs so that the knees and the toes are pointed towards the ceiling. And you can tap out the legs once more. Okay, and this is a fun part. Now turning to the side, we're moving into reverse boat. And that's just going to help us sort of engage our core without taxing it at the cost, at the price, at the expense of our back, our lower back. So if you're in an upright seated position like me, your feet being together, you might be so tight in the hips and the knees that it's hard to bring your knees and your hips together. But if you can and you can lift up, then that gives you a really good position, a nice folded position, indicating good flexibility and whatnot. I'm kind of tight, so it's hard for me to fold a little further up. But as we bring the knees close, then we're going to let them drop a little bit, and we're going to bring about an inch space between the feet and bring the soles of the feet to be nice and flat. You want a nice straight back, so if your upper shoulders are curved, lift up through the shoulders, lengthen from the tailbone through the back, through the neck, tuck the chin gently. And we want to keep that sort of nice long back. Hold underneath your knees, right there at the back of the lower thigh, and start to unfold the elbows. Lengthen through the legs, through the arms, so you can lean back. Your abs will automatically engage. At that point where they engage, stay there. Just notice the engagement. You don't have to be leaning back far at all to feel that engagement. You're hopefully breathing. Don't hold your breath. See if you can breathe comfortably and steadily for 3 breath cycles. And hopefully, if it's too far, you can always lean forward, come back up. You only want to lean back until you feel the engagement. It does not have to be strong. Okay, and then let's inhale, lean back up. You can move the feet forward, and then relax the arms, hug around the shins, around the legs, and let the abs relax. Let the curve of your spine naturally occur. Let the shoulders round. Take a couple of breaths to reset, and then we'll come back up. Bringing the soles of the feet about an inch, inch and a half. Your feet are separate. And then knees are pointing up. And try to lengthen through the back as much as possible, tightening up the torso, the chest as close to the thighs as possible, and then start to lean back, straight back until you feel your abs engage. As soon as they do, hold on to that. Engage your core. When you are folding in a forward fold, when you're coming up from forward fold to mountain, this is the feeling you want to feel in your abs. Engagement. It's firm. There might be some skin, some other layers, but underneath it's firm. Trust me, it is.
Okay, and then inhale. Let's come all the way back up once more. And then we're going to bring the hands to the back. And then just give ourselves a nice little glute massage at the top of the glutes there, at the top of the pelvic bowl. And just allow that nice swivel from side to side to give us some release. If you kind of give a split-second delay of one knee following the other, you get a little bit of stretching release as well at the hips. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our way to our back for Shavasana. We'll have just a brief windshield wipe here with long legs though. So get back on the mat, on your back. Be comfortable. If you need a rolled up towel underneath the small of your back, you can put that there. If you need one at the base of the neck. Everyone has their story in their body, and usually your little adjustments, modifications will help you. So once you've found that comfortable spot on your back, I'm going to demonstrate something under my neck. I don't usually do that, but sometimes it feels nice to have your head supported or some fold under the neck. Okay, so here we are on our back. Legs are nice and long, and give yourself that chance to just extend, just like when we're on our belly for the first time. All right, so with our knee bent in our base bridge position, and we're not going to worry about the heels being close enough to brush our fingertips. Just make sure that the soles of the feet are flat on the mat, even distribution of weight, and you've got a heel to toe alignment. Arms are out to the side. Inhale, exhale, and just let the knees roll to the right. You're rolling on the sides of your feet only. The position of your feet remains the same, but you're just rolling onto the right edge of the sole of the feet. Give yourself 2 to 3 breath cycles here to see if your legs release more towards the floor. You might have your, since we're windshield wiped to the right here, the right thigh may eventually land, the right ankle, the right shin, the entire right leg may just land on the mat. And the left knee might just be resting on the right shin, right calf. That's pretty fully relaxed onto that side. But give yourself the 3 breath cycles to find that. And then palms down on the floor. Inhale. Just roll the soles of the feet back to center. Knees should come up with that inhale. And then exhale, let them roll to the other side. Feet stay in place. They just roll to the edge of the left side of the feet. Give yourself 3 to 5 good deep breath cycles to find where you land on this side. Then inhale, roll back to center. Extend through the legs and get ready for Shavasana. I'll be sitting upright to mind the time, but in about 5 minutes you'll hear the 3 bells and we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body. Notice the sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to your breath. Gently open the eyes if they're closed. Take in the things around you. Feel the air on the body as it enters the nose, as it exits the nose. And then as you reconnect to the body vessel once more, I invite you to make any movement that helps you reconnect. You can wiggle your fingers, toes. You can rock from side to side. And we can meet back in an upright position for our breathing exercise to end class. So for the start of the year, it'll be our first time doing the breath of fire. Our Kapalabhati breathing is basically one of those very traditional, useful breath exercises to help not just strengthen the core, but it helps to bring an energy to kind of like focus the inner furnace, if you will. So you can, if you're feeling cold and you want to wake up the body, this is a great breath exercise to re-energize, reinvigorate the body. And it is one of the safest ways I've found of actually maintaining core strength too, without a risk that I find that other exercises happen with core work like crunches or sit-ups. So sitting upright in your easy seated position, I'm just going to turn to the side so you can see. So we're wanting to feel that rooting right at the pelvic bowl. So make sure that you're just rocking from side to side, forward and back, so you can find that center. Once you feel that even distribution of support at the sits bones, we're going to find that the chest is lifted perpendicular to the pelvic bowl. So that energy from the tailbone all the way up through the crown of the head, we want to maintain that. And keeping the core, we're going to have this nice sort of inhale and then exhale. And then as you exhale, you're slowly pressing out that air. And then at the very end, press it with like a deep snap of the belly button to the spine, like a your mouth is a little bit open, your teeth are slightly touching, and you're just like, it's like you're sneezing. So you're using your belly as a bellows. So you would go inhale deeply, and then slowly exhale. And you can get that very last bit of air out with just like a sneeze almost, a pressing engagement of the core. So that's what you do at the very last exhale of our Kapalabhati breathing. But during the rest of the breath, as we inhale deeply at that initial breath, we're going to bellow close our abdominal muscles, and we're going to give this like almost sneeze that we were showing at the very end of that last slow exhale, that and we're going to be inhaling at the beginning, but when we start exhaling, pumping out the air from our belly with these little ab crunches internally, it's almost like we're just hitting the bellows in that fire, in that furnace. So just as a demonstration, let me show you for 5 breaths really quickly, inhaling deeply, and then holding all that air up there in the diaphragm area, and then we breathe out through these closed teeth, lips, and just push out 5 really quick. It's not like I'm inhaling. I'm just exhaling so quickly that the inhale takes care of itself in that process. So we're going to do a total of 10 of these for the first set. And then the very The last 10th breath will be that long, drawn-out exhale with that little bit of a squeeze at the end to get the last bit of that air out. So let's go ahead and start inhaling deeply. Through the nose, we hold it up, and then we're going to shoot it out for 10. Getting all the air out, we lift up the perineal floor as if you're stopping the urination process. And then we release after a few breaths. And we'll do that one more time. So inhaling nice and tall, a round of 10, starting now. Hold it. And then release. Release the hold on the perineum floor, on the pelvic floor. Release the breath, and just let the breath return to its natural state. And turning, facing forward, bring hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. A wonderful day. Bye-bye. Thank you.